Hello, this is Katie from Crafting Ruby Dreams, and welcome back to my channel where I talk about planners, goal setting, writing, publishing, and getting right with my finances. Today is a getting right with my finances day. I'm doing a Q1 update of the state of my finances for 2021. If you did not see my intro video at the start of 2021, which is the state of my finances, I will go ahead and link to that in the card above and below in the description. So if you missed it, you can go back and watch it. There are some things that I did talk about in that video that I am going to touch on with updates in this video. I'm not going to talk about quite everything that I discussed in that video, but I will do a mid-year update roughly sometime in July. Let's go over the 4 goals that I had for 2021 and what the status of them are. First goal was to move apartments, and I didn't know the timing of when the move would happen or quite what the finances would be surrounding it. I just knew that was a major goal of mine for 2021, and I have completed phase 1 of that move, as it turns out. What I have done is moved out of my apartment. I am currently still living with them in Chicago and doing distance telework. I have signed a lease for another apartment, and I will be moving into that apartment in June. So I am really looking forward to it. It is a bigger apartment. It has a study space that I will be able to use as a work from home space. And the 2 of the 3 things that were top of my list for a next apartment were in-unit washer dryer. Yay! And dishwasher. I was very, very excited about the in-unit washer dryer because honestly, other than a shared house situation that I had when I first moved to DC, and that was only for about 4 months, the only other time I've had an in-unit washer dryer was living with my parents growing up, and now like every other apartment I have ever lived in my adult life has not had an in-unit washer dryer. I did have two, I think, where the shared washer dryer was actually on the same floor as my apartment, but actually in unit where I didn't have to share with anyone else. This will be my very first time, so I'm very excited. It is also in a newer complex in DC, and the shared amenities situation is very nice, and there is a lot of community seating where if I don't want to be in my apartment, I can just go down and sit in one of many different spaces, both within my building as well as in other buildings in the complex. So I'm just really, really looking forward to a step up for my living situation, and even better, the associated step up in rent is actually not horribly too much. One of the big differences is going to be that all of my utilities are separated out, whereas before my electricity, gas, and water were all folded into my rent. So I didn't have to pay for those individually, whereas I am going to have to pay for all of those individually with this next place. So I'm just gonna have to be very conscious of my budget, and I have done that before. I've had separate electricity and everything else, so it's not like I haven't had it before, but it's been a while since I've had to deal with that. So even with all of that, I am so much looking forward to honestly being in an apartment with a bedroom that's separate from my living space. That's big because I honestly haven't really had that, again, since the shared housing situation when I first moved to DC. Like my other 2 apartments have essentially been studio apartments, and I'm just looking forward to this next step. That is the state of the move. As I said, I will be moving into the new apartment in June, and what I have been doing, and actually what I was doing for a few hours tonight with my sister was looking at furniture options and just trying to figure out a budget for what will allow me to get the most amount of what I'm going to need in the new space. I am going to wait until I move into the new space to get a better handle on the size of the study space, as well as what I have currently in storage and how that's going to fit into the new apartment and what I truly need in terms of new things. One of the new things I definitely know I'm going to need is a couch situation. So I'm kind of looking forward to having that again as well. But like I said, I'm going to wait until I move into the apartment to get an idea. And there's some other things going on over the summer that I'm still waiting for more information about to move forward with various things, but I am stashing away money to pay for furniture and looking forward to it. Goal number 2 for 2021 was to save at least $1,000 for a vacation of some kind in 2022. That goal is pretty much on hold while I finalize the move and getting all of the new furniture. I'm kind of hoping that some of the money that I have set aside and plan to set aside for furniture will be able to not be spent on furniture and that I can apply that to the vacation savings. So we will see what the status of this is. Possibly in the mid-year update, but I hope to absolutely have a much better handle on it for the Q3 update later this year. Goal number 3 for 2021 was to reduce my debt load to $23,000. I started out around $45,000 at the beginning of this year, and I am currently around $41,000. That is with me not really applying any more money than the minimums due. 2 of my debts are personal loans and they are somewhat fixed. I can easily apply more money to one loan in particular, as well as a more variable line of credit loan that I currently have some debt on. I am working on getting a better handle, like I said, on my budget and how much I'm spending, as well as reining my spending in to hopefully throw at least a few more dollars at each of those loans every single month. The other loan is just pulled straight from my paycheck at a fixed amount every paycheck, and I'm going to dig to see if I can throw some more money at it to finish it up maybe a little bit earlier, but that is the one that ends in April of next year, as well as the one with the smallest interest rate. So it's the one I'm least worried about, and I would much rather throw some cash at the line of credit as well as the other personal loan, as those two both have higher interest rates. Another thing about this debt load is, while I may not get down to the $23,000, if I can avoid adding to my debt load with the new apartment and the added expenses of the utilities on top of the rent, I will consider that a win for this year. So I'm going to keep the $23,000 as a goal, just as a little bit motivation for me. But again, if I get close to it ish, just by paying on the minimums as well as not adding to the debt, I'm happy. One of the things I'm going to do once I'm back in DC full-time is try to figure out ways to bring in additional income as a way to pay off this debt faster. I am getting really tired of it and I would very much like to get rid of it, but part of it is I want to do something that is going to be well worth my time, because frankly, if you take my full-time day job salary and what I get paid per hour just on the salary, not including additional benefits above my salary, I get paid $50 an hour from that before deductions. So I would like to find something that is somewhat comparable to that, but I know that's going to be really hard to do. If I can find something that is at least $25 an hour that I can do from home and no more than 10 hours per week, that would be ideal, because I still want to spend time doing these YouTube videos as well as doing personal fun stuff such as knitting and reading, and hopefully one day getting back into writing. We will see what happens. If you have any suggestions for things that you can do from home for extra money, please feel free to drop those in the comments. They are always welcome. And the fourth goal for 2021 was to buy a new MacBook. I am so happy that I've been able to buy a MacBook. And I know I've talked about it in other videos in how important it has been to me in order to produce these videos. It just has been a lifesaver. And there are other things that I have been doing with the MacBook, such as sending out newsletters for my writing alter ego. I have continued to do that, as well as just day-to-day life stuff. Having it has just made things a lot easier for me to be able to do where I need access to a full service computer beyond my iPad. As I've mentioned before, my iPad has been very useful, but at this point it is nearly 5 years old, and there are some things that I have not really been able to do on a mobile device as easily as I could on a full computer, and I didn't want to do those things on my work computer, nor was using my dad's computer really useful, because there are a lot of times where he needed to have his laptop, and it's his laptop, so he has first priority. And getting my stuff done subject to somebody else's timeline was just frustrating. So I am so glad I was able to get the MacBook and make it work. I think I have mentioned this in other videos, but how I paid for it was to use my tax refund. It was enough to cover what I wanted to get out of the MacBook. I priced out what I wanted in the MacBook way back in December, so I had a very clear idea of how much money it was going to cost me to get the MacBook. And so when I filed my taxes and saw the tax return and realized I was not going to have to pull any money from my savings that I had been holding on to for moving, I was very happy. So I was prepared to do it if necessary, but the fact that I didn't have to was just a relief to me. That is the state of my goals for 2021. We have so far completely ticked off one goal, and a second goal is in the process of getting ticked off. It is about halfway ticked off. And the other two goals are, one is no further status, and the last one is just very slow and steady turtle-like status. But it's getting there. How am I doing with tracking my spending? Because that's been really important to me, especially with reducing my debt load. Tracking my spending, I've been mostly okay with. There have been times that I let it slide, and you can see how it affected my mindset. But the thing I did do was to make sure that I paid off my credit cards in a timely manner, mostly weekly, sometimes a little bit more than weekly, but I was always paid off by the end of the pay cycle. So I've not accrued any interest on the credit card so far this year. I have switched up how I note my spending and other things, whereas before I was pretty much just tracking purchases. I am now tracking everything. I always knew like my monthly deductions from my bank account and a few other things, but I wasn't necessarily good at noting it in the spending for the month. So I am going to be working over the next 6 weeks or so on Jen DeFore's Wild U budget course from January 2021 in Wild University. And even though my spending has both significantly changed in terms of rent as well as some other things. I am hoping to still have a better idea as to where my money is going month to month. The other thing that I have very specifically started tracking this month is all of my income, because the thing I want to have done at the end of this month is to know exactly how much I have spent, how much money is outgoing, and how much money has come in. And I want to see, because this isn't something I've ever really done. Like, I have managed to kind of have a positive cash flow before for the month, where I think I haven't gone too far into debt, if any into debt, and then definitely months where I've gone really into debt. So I am working on having an actual understanding of, I bring in this much for income and I spend this much on everything, be it rent, be it paying off debt, be it paying for medical bills, be it paying for food and just general spending. I want to see exactly what that actual cash flow is, because I want to make sure it's something positive. Whether or not it's zero-based budget, I don't know. I'm slowly working my way to having an actual budget. And I have some ideas on how to track. Right now it's just paper and pen, and it's not actually me having a budget of trying to stick to it. It is me just trying to have an understanding of my finances and how much money is coming in and where my money is going, because like I said, I've had an okay understanding of that in the past. I need a more concrete understanding, especially since I need to be very conscious for the next year of how much I'm spending with the increase in living expenses. Related to all of this is, how's my therapy going? Because I mentioned how important the therapy has been for me in the State of My Finances video from January. And I have since switched therapists because my one therapist had to take extended leave. And my current therapist and I, she knows this is a priority for me, and we have been working on it. In fact, during our most recent session, she had this kind of card game that I'm sure therapists out there are probably going to be familiar with it, where it is cards with a bunch of statements on it with, do you identify this as this is me, this is sometimes but it depends, or this is not me. And you have usually a therapist just go through the deck with you, and you read the statement and you put it in one of the three piles, and then the therapist works with you to look at all of the cards that you have put into the this is me pile. And on the back of the cards are a series of values with what those may mean, and you basically count up how many from each value you have in the this is me pile and see what is most prominent. And unsurprising to me, my number one category was spontaneous. I'm not necessarily carefree. That was actually tied for third. I had two that were classified as carefree. I would not have argued with that as a number one either, frankly. But the number one value was spontaneous. But the number two result, which kind of surprised my therapist, was planning. Because yes, I like to plan money that I don't necessarily have. I like playing with the idea of money, and I as I told her, if I win the lotto one day, which I would have to play these days, which I haven't been, I have a very clear plan of what I will do in the event of me winning the lottery. And I like to play with the idea of money, but when it comes to actually spending money, I'm pretty spontaneous. But these actually play together. Remember how I just mentioned with the MacBook that I planned out what features I wanted in that MacBook. I wasn't necessarily planning on the savings of, okay, this is how much it's going to cost, so I'm going to have to set aside this amount of money every single month. That wasn't how I planned. I knew to the penny pretty much how much it was going to cost me to buy a MacBook, and I played with that aspect of things. And I kept looking at the price. So I knew when I had this somewhat windfall of money in the form of my tax return come in, I knew exactly how to spend it. I was prepared for that money, and I was prepared for that purchase. So once we had talked things through, my therapist was much more, oh, I see, you are spontaneous, but you do a lot of planning ahead of time. And so we were talking, we kind of ended the session with trying to figure out ways for me to continue to enjoy the spontaneity of purchasing and spending, because it gives me pleasure, but do it in a way that also satisfies the planning and does not go into the negative expression of how I typically spend money, which is going into debt. So we are going to continue working on that. Looking forward to Q2 of 2021, what's on the horizon for me financially? Well, the big one is moving into the new apartment and figuring out the furniture situation. As my sister and I were looking at various possible places to get furniture, my sister has actually moved a lot more than I have, and so she was familiar with the fact that a lot of furniture places sometimes have long lead times as to when they deliver. I have not bought that much furniture in my life that were not from places that were essentially IKEA or Target, and therefore I have to assemble, which my mom is not enthused about. And I personally would like to avoid having to assemble my furniture again, but I'm still in a rental. My lease is for 18 months. I don't know what the next stage is going to be. I do want something that's going to be nice, but do I really need something that's super nice and is meant to be in a place for a while? Or can I get away with some possibly cheaper options? We will see. And as my sister reminded me, there are now services like TaskRabbit. So if I need to have furniture assembled and I'm either short on time or it ends up just being me, I can hire somebody from TaskRabbit. That being said, I do want to work on developing a budget for the new furniture and furnishings, because there are a number of things that I did get rid of during the purge of the apartment, surely because of age and or wear, and I'm going to have to replace them when I move into the new apartment. An example of this would be I need new utensils. I just decided to go ahead and get rid of the set that I had because it was from Target. It had lived a good life and I was ready to be done with it. So I need stuff like that. And then getting a good mental handle on my cash flow and how much money is coming in on a monthly basis and how much money is outgoing on a monthly basis. I know that there are a lot of people who really like the budget by paycheck method, and that is appealing to me because I kind of do that to a degree, but I think there is also something to be said about having an understanding of how much money is being spent in a month, partially because you typically have to pay rent or mortgage on a monthly basis. So having a more complete idea of what your money is like for that kind of situation is very useful, because frankly, like, pretty much all of my money for one paycheck is going to go to rent and utilities, and I just need to have a better handle on how to use that other paycheck. And because I get paid 26 times a year because it's on a bi-weekly basis, there's going to be 2 months in a year where I'm going to have a bonus paycheck. And so what I would like ideally to use those paychecks for are to pay for the more periodic expenses and basically put those into sinking funds. So that would be things like my annual fees for various things like Duolingo and America's Test Kitchen membership and Dropbox and other annual subscriptions, as well as things like haircuts. When we can get haircuts again, because my hair is now this long. Back in February of last year, it was this long. It's gone longer. So when we can start doing things like that again, I need to be able to pay for them. Just trying to get a better handle and get me through to April of next year without adding to my debt. I want to be done with this. I'm tired of living in the debt cycle. So those are my things for Q2 of this year. What are your goals for Q2 of this year? Please share those in the comments. I'd love to hear from you and see how things are going for you. One of the reasons why I include these personal finance videos is because they are part of my journey as a single woman in her mid-40s going for my Ruby dreams. That is why this channel is called Crafting Ruby Dreams, is because I am working to create my Ruby dreams and make them happen. So please share what your goals are for Q2 and any suggestions you have for future videos. Thank you so much for joining me here today. I truly appreciate you spending your time with me and inviting me into your space. If you have any questions whatsoever, again, drop those in the comments. If you have found anything in this video useful, please hit that like button so that YouTube knows to recommend this to others. And if you haven't already, please join the growing community here in Crafting Ruby Dreams and hit that subscribe button and the bell to be notified about when future videos are available. Currently, I'm posting roughly 1 video a week. I hope to get back up to 2 videos a week, but we will see how the schedule goes. I really appreciate you being here, and may all your dreams be Ruby dreams. Bye-bye.